DAS Today is a presentation of the Descendants of American Slaves, Inc. with Dr. Gerald Higginbotham. For more information, visit descendantsofamericanslaves.com.
Welcome to DAS Today. Hi, I'm your host, Dr. Gerald Higginbotham. I am the Senior Vice President for the American Slave Nation, the spokesperson for the Descendants of American Slaves. And we'd like to welcome you to this first installment. This will be a series of shows that will begin to add value to your life and to help you get to the next level. Let me share a little bit about me. I'm a commercial airline pilot. I'm a community activist. I'm a father. I'm a realist, and I'm on a mission. I've been on a mission since I was 7 years old. I was part of the Watts Riot in Los Angeles, California. It was in my backyard, literally. I saw the burning and the deprivation of the community at 7 and got a wake-up call. And I've been awake ever since. And when Dr. King was assassinated, April 4th, 1968, and I accepted a call on my life to begin to create better communities and do what we can to fix this mess that we are in. Being an airline pilot, it makes you process oriented. You begin to see things that other folks don't see. You know, I hang out at 37,000 feet, and up there, there's not many folks. And being in the command posts, you can see things that other folks don't see. It makes you ask the questions of life. I really understand now why it was such a challenge to get that job, because it really prepared me for where we are today. It helped me to ask the right questions, like, where am I? Where am I going? How am I going to get there? What's the flight plan? How did I get in the present predicament that I'm in today? See, when you don't ask the right questions, you won't get the right answers. You know, for example, one day I was flying along heading westbound, and I began to look at how beautiful it was. I said to the Creator, boy, this earth is beautiful. It's so nice up here. You can see all the squares. And something came in my spirit and said, if you had an engine failure right now, you would have a serious issue. What would you do? I started thinking about it. I said, well, I'd go through my normal memorized procedures, and then I'd get the manual out. I certainly wouldn't ask the folks in the back of the airplane what's wrong, but I would get the manual out, and then I would follow the process to deal with what needs to be done. Well, I did that. You know, being an ordained minister, I have 2 doctor's degrees, one in divinity, one in biblical studies, and a master's in religious education. Spirit of God spoke to me and said, I've left my manual down here called the Bible, the basic instructions before leaving earth. You would get that manual out if you want to begin to direct your life. I was able to get the information that I needed to begin to put things in its proper perspective. And so I began to look at things from his perspective. And so this show here will help us get to where we need to be, providing the right information so that you can begin to make the right choices so your life can go to another level. And we can be able to correct these things that have been plaguing our culture, our community, plaguing America. See, America, we've been off course. And I know as a pilot, 1 degree off course, you want to arrive at your destination. As a pilot, I have had the opportunity to see the big picture, and I've applied that here to my personal life. And I can see now how to provide the direction for those that have been off course or lost, don't know where they're going. And so that's what DAS is all about. It is so desperately needed right now today, helping you begin to see the big picture so that you can have a paradigm shift and go to another level. So you say, what is Descendants of American Slaves? Well, that's a great question, and I'm so glad you asked. Here's how DAS came to be. You know, about 9 months ago, I had an opportunity to meet a person that really helped me see it from a different side. His name is Norris Shelton. He is the president of the American Slave Nation. This elder passed on some information to me that has changed my life forever. He did what Dr. King told him to do. He said the next battle for Negroes will be out at the economic battlefield. And what this man did, he mentored me. I decreased and allowed him to mentor me, to deposit in me some information that I'm going to be sharing with you over the course of time. He said that he did exactly what Dr. King told him to do, head to the economic battlefield. And when he got out there, he saw that he was the only one out there that looked just like him. He said something was wrong. And so he came back and put together books. He put this one book together called America's Little Black Book. I mean, this really should be the Bible in every DAS home, in addition to the big Bible. But this one here will help us explain true American history. You see, American slave history is not taught in our school, and I really believe that is part of the issue why we're having so much trouble here in America. It has been a lack of knowledge. It's a lot of ignorance out there on both sides. And so we got to get information. It's been said, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And so we got to make relevant information our friend now. And with us having shifted from an industrial-based society to the information age, it's a whole new different paradigm that we're in. Many of us are still stuck in the agriculture age. But the good news is that the good doctor has came back to grab you so that you can be able to get the information and go to another level. Mr. Norris was the Minority Businessman of the Year for 3 years straight. He became a multimillionaire. He'd had multitude of businesses. He knows business. And that's one of my business partners. What he taught me was about big business. See, a lot of folks do business, but he was doing business. He taught me about racial business. It's not the same as regular business, racial business, understanding minority contracts, billion-dollar industries. He showed me a whole new side of it. And then he told me about one thing that changed my life forever. When he said, I'm not black. I'm not an African American. And that stuck with me because I've struggled for years for those terms. Well, those terms, they were terms that were put up on us. They gave us a foreign identity. You know, black is not a culture. It's not a nationality. It's not a noun. It's not a person, place, or thing. It's a description. It's an adjective. It's a color. I'm not African American because that's a United States immigration term for those that came over from Africa, white and black, that wanted to make some money, that wanted to come for the American dream, that was trying to run away from oppression, coming to America. After they got their green cards, the United States immigration awarded them the term African American. And we're neither. We're not black. We're not African Americans. We are Americans. We are the descendants of American slaves. And that really helped me because I've had an identity issue. I know it, being at the church and you Christian and all that. Yeah, I'm all that too, born again. But I didn't understand my ethnic heritage. The images of Jesus were always white and wavy hair. But that wasn't true, and I struggled, and blue eyes. I struggled with that for years. And so I needed to know the truth because it's only knowing truth is what makes you free. Now, I love Jesus' principles. Don't get me wrong. I love the principles. I believe in them. But I also know that God birthed me in this body for a specific purpose in North America, not Africa, but here in America. I'm not an African American. I am truly an American. I'm a descendant of American slaves. So today you're going to come to know why we are as DAS. We're not black because black is an adjective. It is a description. It is a color. It's not a nationality. It's not a culture. It's not a noun. And I'm certainly not African American because I've never been to Africa. I got over 15,000 hours of heavy jet time, and I've never been to Africa. I was born in South Central Los Angeles, which is part of California, which is part of the United States. And, the other thing is that what really gets me is, when I see my U.S. passport and it says nationality on the United States of America. You see, we have to walk in truth. We got to speak the truth, be the truth, because it's only knowing truth is what makes you free. We are a culture, the American slave culture. They are Americans. They were born in those plantations in the South, and they were migrated here to the North after the Civil War. They were not immigrants. You always immigrate from the country that you were birthed in to the America, and you put the name that you came from in front of America, like African American, Chinese American, Asian American, Latin American, Mexican American. Those are folks that immigrate here to America, and they put their name in front of America because they're proud of their culture, and it is an immigration status. and it's recognized by the United States Immigration Service. But the American slave culture, me, I didn't immigrate here. I was born here in this nation. And my ancestors moved from the South out to California. They were finding the gold rush. And I was born in South Central Los Angeles. And their ancestors were birthed on those plantations. I am a proud descendant of American slaves. And boy, when I got that revelation, and I thank God for Mr. Norris Shelton, because he shared that thought. Because see, your thought life is what controls your life. It says, as a man thinketh or woman thinketh, so are you. And so we have to change how we're thinking right now, because it's so desperately needed with what's going on in our nation. We're not Black Americans. We're not African Americans. We are Americans. We are the descendants of American slaves. And every group that comes to America is behind us. They immigrated. The slaves never did immigrate. Now, some of them migrated from the South to the North after the Civil War, because that whole Civil War was about setting the slaves free. So they say. But technically, y'all, it was about economics. You see, America is a corporation. You see, we've been called slaves, colored, Negro, Black, now African American. Which one is it and why? We had to answer that question. We've been shamed of the word slave. And that word slave is a legal term. But what's causing the shame and the pain is because of slavery. It was a vile thing that happened to a people. It also covers up the crime of slavery. You see, slavery was the foundation of America. It will always be. It will always be married to America. And also, slavery was big business. It wasn't personal. It was business. And so to fix this thing, we're going to have to be about business. But because it was such a shame, we don't embrace it. But I'm embracing being a slave. I worked 2 or 3 jobs trying to make a difference. I used to call myself a Hebrew slave. But I got the wake-up call that, no, I am an American slave. Yeah, they've taken the chains off of us, but slavery was also mental. Chains are still on our minds. After the Civil War was over, we went from being physically changed into economic slavery. And still to this day, we're still there. Our minds are still being controlled by the slave master. The government controls us still. And they use all different type of organization to make sure that we do things to make sure that they get paid. So for 247 years, I'm going to keep it real. America got paid. Our ancestors got played. We got to get over the shame and get ourselves in a position of empowerment. And the only thing that will help you get over the shame is truth. It's only knowing truth is what makes you free. Knowing a lie, incorrect data keeps you in bondage. So we have not had the real truth. And the truth is that we are Americans. Our ethnicity, we are descendants of American slaves. Now, let me drop a little nugget on you. Since slavery was a business and America got paid for 247 years and our ancestors got played, today, corporal slavery is illegal. However, it still was a crime against humanity. And that debt is still out there, and interest is growing daily. It's about 400 years of interest. Just imagine with me for a minute. You work a culture for 247 years and don't pay them. And then there's interest on that 247 years, and we're 160 plus years out from slavery now. So if you add it all together, it's about 400 years worth of interest. Imagine just put 10% on that interest. Just think about it. See, you're not broke. You're not broke. It's been an identity crisis, but that stems from a leadership crisis because everything rises and falls on leadership, everything. Our culture is not broke. America only owes one group. That's the American slave culture. Now, people are running around yelling reparation. Well, I believe it's out of order right now until we get the identity piece, because African Americans, America do not owe. That's a country. Those folks come over here from Africa and they're doing good. But the American slave culture is still struggling. They're 2 total different cultures, and each cultures have different needs. What the American slave culture need is 2 things. They need to know the truth about who they are, and then they need a simple but comprehensive plan that leads them right into mainstream America. With that being said, I'd like to welcome you to DAS Today. Our mission is to educate, empower, and enlighten Americans on the plight and the promise of descendants of American slaves while creating strategies to identify true emancipation from government dependency. And so the vision, because see, without vision, the people perish. So here's the vision: to create a society which honors the accomplishment, recognize the spirit, and uplift the image of American slaves. A society that will explain to the descendants of slaves the advantage of them accepting their true identity and then releasing them to truly seek economic emancipation into mainstream America. That's the vision. Embrace it. And so we welcome you on board because we're headed to move us from poverty, ignorance, dependency, and complacency to truly knowledge, wealth, and power. We welcome you aboard the DAS today. We will be a continued source of information, a resource where it will add value to your life to help you and future generations get to where they need to be. This is so important that we need this information today because it has been a lack of knowledge that has been causing destruction. But when you have the relevant information, it causes you to be restored, to be built up. And the DAS communities, as they begin to evolve across our nation, will begin to be healed and restored back to their rightful position. And we will see change on our watch. You're at the right place. You showed up today. As we get on the runway here today, we're going to play our DAS, Descendants of American Slave National Anthem. I hope you enjoy it.
To be free, so I'm feeling like a slave. The sun ain't even shine with your eyes shut. We've been down so long, it's time to rise up. If you was cold, then you would die without your heater. But on the same note, we gon' die without a leader. If the shoe fits, word King made it clear. And why can't we wait for books? Why he isn't here? Yeah, they try to take my freedom, but I took it back. I spent $16.95 and the book was black. It's a great read for those of you who never read it. And the backdrop started back in 37. And you can say a lot of things, but it's absurd that the term slavery became a cuss word. And to my mom, hope you proud, it was all clean. I'm America's offspring, it's all me. So important and being imported, they got my views all distorted. There's a black millionaire shortage. We can't afford a rent mortgage with a fortune for brand new Jordans. 500 years of being here and being residents before we even got our first mixed president. That trip like a rock showed up with no invitation. Voluntary immigration ain't the situation. Excuse me. If we get riled up, not fond of being kidnapped and piled up, fouled and bound to come here to work, feel essentially past. And we work for y'all still. We live and we try to fight stereotypes. I'm supposed to be polite and bleed stars and stripes. But as I'm sitting here reminiscing on past pain, I found the question, who can tell me my last name? America.
Of equality, but I don't see much of it. Nowadays, I'm like the underday Frederick Douglass, honoring those who fought for African suffrage. Minus skin color, this nation would be corruptionist. Not a stranger to this land, I ain't stopping in. My ancestors were the original cotton gin. Now pour juice and gin to celebrate victory. A Starkeys built this land and know your history. A fly poet, young Cassius Clay. A rebel for revolution till my casket lay. And my democracy is mocking me. Using propaganda to try to fool us optically. That's why, as a public, we should open our eyes and realize freedom's inside. No skin color stopping me. life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. Whatever shade of flesh you might kin with all my.
You can get all the notes and comments from today's shows out at www.descendantsofamericanslaves.com. And I want to say thank you for taking time out your busy schedule to ride with us today. Please send us your questions, your comments, your thoughts, and we're on our way. Fasten your seatbelt. We have been cleared for takeoff. This is the Captain Good Doctor speaking, and we say welcome aboard.
To learn more about Descendants of American Slaves, Inc., visit descendantsofamericanslaves.com for the blog, more about the organization, to donate, hear testimonials, and become enlightened on the plight and promise of descendants of American slaves.